Patrick, welcome to ENTV, sir. This is going to be a fun interview, I can tell.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here, happy to be interviewing you. And you, for those that don't know you yet, maybe we should start with where are you at? Because it sounds like you are a bit of an adventurer yourself.
Well, I am, and right now I'm in Cheyenne for Cheyenne Frontier Days. We do every major rodeo in the country with my business. So I've got a few different hats I wear, and today, for the next week again, we've already been here for, I don't know, 8 or 9 days. We'll be in Cheyenne Frontier Days promoting my product, Skyhawk Rugs.
All right, well
We
let's talk about that because like Frontier Days, rodeos, major rodeos, your products. Where does that story even start, Patrick?
I'll tell you what, it's a long story. You'd have to have 2 or 3 more of these things to bring it all along. But at one point in my life, I needed something new to do, and somehow, I I'm sorry, I have a service dog right next to me here, and another dog just walked by. So yeah, yeah.
It's all good. We do have auto noise cancellation on, so it mutes about 70% of it. It's all good. You keep
Thank
going,
you,
sir. Yeah.
thank you. So yeah, I needed something new to do in my life when I was about 36, 38, or something like that, and so I found a gentleman that was selling rugs, and he asked me if I wanted to go to work for him, and I said, well, I don't have much going on right now. Yeah, so we kind of started traveling around to different areas, and we did even street corners in those days. And then we started hitting some rodeos. Well, a few years later, I decided that I'd like to do something a little different with it, and the arrangement we have wasn't going to be paying off as much as I thought it could. So I started my own company. I call it Skyhawk Rugs, and so I got into some manufacturers that didn't really know who I was at the time, but they came along with my story, and they came to meet me one time in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And when I met this gentleman, I had a big cowboy hat on and cowboy gear, big truck, green truck, Ford truck. So he says, I owe you an apology. And I said, why is that? He says, I didn't think you were real. I said, no, I'm pretty real. So we got to talking. He says, if you can buy $5,000 worth of rugs, we can give you a rack. We can get you set up. You can start buying rugs. So I did that with a little help from one banker that had trust in me, and I borrowed a little bit of money. And I got a trailer and a little computer, and I bought a bunch of rugs, and I started selling rugs on a street corner in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that was every day going out, set racks up, take them down at night. Hopefully I could sell 1 or 2, maybe 3 rugs. I figured if I could go out and have a $500 day, that I could make a living. So through that, over the years, we did that, and I did that all over the country. Had another guy working for me, another guy. Well, I won't get into all the finances, but having 2 or 3 of them really started paying off. Well, we had somebody come to me and say, we want to sell your rugs wholesale. I started designing my own products, cowboy rugs. There's never a cowboy rug out. I made one cowboy rug. It's called the Rodeo Rider, and I went to Las Vegas to the NFR, huge rodeo. A friend of mine said, bring lots of inventory. Well, I brought what I had, and I had that one special rug. Well, I sold 400 of just that pattern in all sizes. So the next year I built another one. We sold 300 of that, 300 of that. Next year I put a lady on a horse, sold 300 of that. We just kept going, put me on the map. So now we're pretty well known in the rodeo business and somewhat outside of it. I have to tell you, I've been in other countries like New Zealand or Egypt or whatever, because I've produced rugs out of those countries, mostly Egypt and Saudi and all that. People have walked in and said, I know you, I bought a rug from you 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So they've got a little bit of a reputation. So
Amazing.
we're still in it. We're still doing it. Things have slowed down. The COVID crashed everything. '08 crashed everything. 9/11 crashed things. I'm not a young man anymore. I'm 72, so I'm slowing down. And who would know I could take a day off to do something like this, because I've got two other people, my wife and another gentleman, on my booth. And when somebody comes into my place, they typically will know me, the product or whatnot. And if they don't, I just explain to them, well, this is my company, Skyhawk Rugs. What you're looking at is a carpet shampooable, color fast, stain resistant type rug. It's a ranch wear. You can wear it, you can't hurt it. You can throw it in a swimming pool and the color won't come out of it. It's just a really fine piece, but we make it a 12 millimeter pile, and sometimes we hand carve it. They love it. Most times we'll be able to sell them. If they're interested at all, we'll make a way for them to get one. So that's
Amazing.
the long story in the short. And
I
we've
love
done
it.
that for done it for over 25 years. And the reason I did that was because I needed a new job. My old job was kind of old, and my job was earlier, and I guess I made it a job, and I got pretty good at it. But in my life, as my life progressed from a young man to a teenager to the military to after, I became kind of a dark figure. It's a pretty dark figure. I lived in the shadows. There's lots of drug addicts and recovery people out there, and I'm one of them. So that all had to end after many people went to prison. My friends would died, went to prison, things like that. So I needed a new way to make a living, and I got a lot of help from that, from being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. We started a thing called Cocaine Anonymous in Albuquerque in 1987. So I've been sober about 38 years now, but it was a rough start. We had plenty of people to back it up, and I finally got a sponsor, somebody to help me. But the biggest thing was that I had to ask higher power, in my case, God, for a bit of help. And I had no idea he was already helping, but I needed to get involved. When I did that, I think God took me aside and said, start brushing me. I said, look what a damn mess you are. I'm going to have to give you some help. It's going to take a long time, but we can get started. And it's taken a lifetime. So I'm not going to thump a Bible at you or anything like that. I do have a church I go to and whatnot. But there's only one reason I'm here today and doing what I can do, is because of that. It's sober, and I don't mean I just had a few beers on the weekend and didn't make it to church. It was a little more than that. And it was a lot of criminality and a lot of loss, a lot of ugly, dark spots. So, like I said, I kind of lived in the shadows of that life. And I can tell you right now, we wouldn't be doing this. I didn't let people take pictures of me. If they knew my name, I got very suspicious of those people. And I can laugh about it now because I was just a whole different guy than what you're seeing today. So anyway,
I love it. Skyhawk Rugs. And all of this evolved into Skyhawk Rugs.
well, the Skyhawk Rugs came about because I left this little piece out. I somehow became a falconer. I fly falcons, eagles, this and that, and I like the name. So I took this little Egyptian bird and stylized it on my own and put a logo together, and we called it Skyhawk Rugs. A lot of people think it's Native American. Okay, it's not. Must do that. Or some people think it's around these little jet airplanes they fly called the Skyhawk. Aviation is none of that. I just came up with it. I felt like we were soaring, type of thing, and we really took off. So the name is stuck. A lot of people know the name. A lot of people don't know me, but they'll know my products. It's really cool when I watch TV. I even see them on the floors of the different shows or different advertisements and stuff like that.
That must be amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Just a little bit of something. It doesn't make me money, but I've made money in a lot of different ways, and this has been the best one, and it has made a living. I don't have any money buried in the backyard. Don't. It always seems to get spent when you pay your bills, and do what you're supposed to do. But I've had some adventure around it. I've been able to travel in Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Belgium and Turkey, and then expand that into going to other places. And I started big game hunting and had some adventures around all that. And the Skyhawk thing took me to Mongolia to fly eagles with the Cossacks. And that's been over 20 years ago. And it was just a fantastic riding the horses with the Cossacks up in the mountains and hunting with the Cossacks, living in their lifestyle about 40 miles out of Russia, which means you fly into Ulaanbaatar, and then you go another place, and then you end up in some little village with a Jeep that takes you, they have no roads, so just on a trek to get out there. So yeah, I've had some great adventures around some success of that business as well. And like that. But I'm a veteran. I spent a couple of years in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Now, I wasn't in combat, but things do happen in the military in the United States to where you might come up with some PTSD. So that kind of took grab and kind of led me into another part of my life to where it was just, like I said, a little bit dark. I like to fight. I was using more drugs, using more alcohol than any man should be using. So when I got involved just a few years ago with the VA, decided to try to get medical. And for 12 years, they wouldn't give it to me. They said I make too much money. Then they said, oh, no, you can make as much money as you want. So they put me in. And the first thing they said, well, we can give you glasses, we can give you hearing aids, we can help you. I said, okay, let's do that. Then they got me a therapist. She said, I think you have PTSD. Well, they were pretty sure of it. I said, well, I thought I was just a little bit mad and didn't like you. But it wasn't true. So there's some triggers there that I was not really aware of that I was doing in life. And so they started working on it. I said, well, you know what? You had PTSD when you were 4 years old. You had it in the military. You had a whole bunch of it afterwards. The 4-year-old thing, I got to tell you, there's another piece of this whole story is that I wrote a book, and it's called Recreating Patrick, an Inside Job. And to tell you everything right here would be hard, but it is in this book. And if you don't mind, I'll show it. It is this book.
Yeah, please. It's
on Amazon.
Put the link after. Please put the link for it in the comments in the Facebook after.
I started that book 3 years ago. It took 3 years to write it. And I want to give a shout out to Christine Skith. She's the co-writer. It's my words. She wrote it. She's a co-writer, publisher.
She's here, right? Yeah. She's in the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. She's in the group. She told me about you and said, you need to get with this guy and tell your story. I said, well, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. I have about three Zooms a week with different things I do. And so I'm a little bit used to it, although sometimes they don't see me, it's blocked out. Anyway, yes, Christine Skith, she worked tirelessly, and we changed directions 2 or 3 times so we could get it to where I really wanted it. Most of it at first didn't have the redemption of the person that's in it, which is me. But at 4 years old, that's where my story starts in here, pretty much because I was put in an orphanage and kind of abandoned by our parents, of my 2 sisters and I. And there was a couple of horrific things that happened there that went on and on. And into adolescence and teenage years and on and on. And so it kind of builds the story of maybe where I'm at right now. But it was at one point, a pivotal point when I did get sober, did get some help, that things could start to change in that direction, in a better direction, better life. And so we wrote about that. It's all in here. And we have shits. We're near you can cancel it out.
We can cancel some of that out.
Well, I think they're having an air show today. I didn't even think about that, but in my room, they're vacuuming all around me. So here we are. Anyway, so this book would tell you, I can't tell anybody it's enjoyable read. It's not. It's hard to hear. It's hard to read. especially for the people that knew me when I was very young. They said, I don't know why we didn't know. And the first review I ever had was the girl said, I cried and I cried and I cried again. I had no idea. So there's some of that in there, but it's a lot of truth, my truth. And I'm hoping one day that maybe it might help even one person. And I think it already has, from what I hear. That's what they take away from it: the redemption, the life that I started living,
Yeah.
the good life I have now, and things like that. And one of them is this dog right here.
Can we
I
see
have
her?
a lady.
Can we see your
I
dog?
have. Yeah, you can, well, hopefully we'll see. Can we see? Let's see. Where is he? How do we get on? We got to
Just
turn. We got to
yeah.
turn it around. You
What
see him?
what kind of dog you got there? A service dog. What kind of dog?
He's an English Lab,
Okay.
and he's a Northwest Battle Buddy coming out of Washington, just above Portland. And there's a lady in my town that vets the vets for that program. She called me one day, said, Patrick, I want to talk to you. And I said, well, okay, so I'll meet you over to Veterans Park. Okay. I think that you might want a dog. You might need a dog. I do that kind of thing. I said, I wasn't in combat. This, and I said, yeah, but I know your story. And so why don't we just apply? And so I did. About 3 days later, she called and said, well, when do you want to leave? I was so honored. So I went for 6 weeks to train with him. Now, you don't pick your dog. You go there, and they have a dog picked for you. I mean, this dog had been prayed over when it's a puppy. And when he grew up, and while he was training, it's a really good organization for veterans, and they donate this dog to you. If you can get through their course, they see that you got all the means to take care of him. And so I got through all that. And within 6 weeks, I stayed up for 6 weeks, and we brought him home. This guy is a blessing. That's what people say. What is this? So well, he's a blessing. That's what he is. All in all. And he loves people, but we can't have people petting him, because if you let people pet a service dog, then he looks for people to pet him instead of doing his job. And he does his job quite well. Because if I'm sitting on my computer and I get a little spun up or this and that, they'll come over and nudge me and go, look, you know what? If you don't quit that, I'm going to come up there and lick you in the face. And he will. He'll jump up my lap, or whatever it takes. Or you might say, you know what? It might be time for us to go out and play with the ball. And so he gets me away from a lot of that stuff. And, he's had to wake me up in the middle of the night and whatnot, but it's gotten way better,
Wow.
and, on top of all that other stuff that I've done, I just keep adding layers of security in my life to help myself be a better person. So I'm always adding something.
I love it. I love your story, Patrick, because it's like coming from some dark stuff. And then you're choosing, someone said recently, someone of high character is not someone who's naive, who's not capable of darkness. It's someone that's walked in darkness, is very capable of it, but chooses to walk in the light. Those are the most inspirational people, because they know what they're capable of, and yet they choose. I just love your story.
I told a lady yesterday, and it was in a fun way, because I have a lot of fun with my customers when we can. If they want to go kicking and screaming, fine, we'll do that. But we have a lot of fun. And I can say, because of my age or whatever, my activities and the way I've lived, I can say about anything. It might offend some people, and it doesn't. We laugh or, like that. And if it does, well, then I'll apologize. But I don't try to get too out of hand with it. But I told a lady yesterday, actually, her husband is a bullfighter. And I've dealt with a lot of bullfighters because I've sponsored some of them over the years and whatnot. But she said something. I said, I had to tell a lady one time, I said, I know how to be violent. And I said, I haven't had to be violent in a long time, but I do remember how, because she's going to send her husband down away. I said, you don't need to do that. Everything's going to be great. But, I try not to get, if I talk to one of my old friends, I don't have many, or somebody that wants to know about my life, and they get down this path and wanting to know details and this and that, I go, you know what? I just can't talk to you about that. I still have a little piece of me that wants to go back there, be that, and I'm not that. There's a little
Mm,
draw, but it's not going to happen. A long time ago, I was sitting watching a movie. My wife came home, And she said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm watching this gangster, man. I think I might want to be a gangster again. She says, oh, really? Well, okay, you could be a gangster, but how many of your old friends are still alive? I said, well, not very many. I said, okay, I guess I don't want to be a gangster. There's just a little light there that, shines a little bright, but not much. Not at all. Not at all. I got a great life and I have a great wife. That was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And she had to pick me. My picker was broke. My picker was broken. She had to ask me out. I knew her back in the day. As a matter of fact, when we first started getting together in a little while, I said, did you ever think that we would be getting together? She says, oh, no, you were unapproachable. And then I became approachable about 5 years into sobriety, I guess. But there was a lot of activity around there. She's a great lady. She supported me. Recently, well, at the end of last year, we found a church we like to go to, and a lot of veterans go there. And I'm actually another thing, a downrange warrior. So we have a little program that puts veterans through a little spiritual program that helps them with PTSD and suicidal ideations. And so a lot of veterans go to the church, and I said, well, we're going to go and try it. And then we liked it. So we kept going. But I had a fall in front of that church winter before last, and I hit a curve and I broke a rib and punctured my lung. So they said, do you want an ambulance? I said, no, that's up here. Well, and then about 2 seconds, I said, yeah, you better get an ambulance. Couldn't breathe. So they got me in that ambulance, said, well, we're going to give you some fentanyl. I said, well, I don't like that word, but okay, let's do it, And they got me there and put me through that machine. Because of my age, they did everything, looked at all of it. And he came and said, yeah, we're going to fix this, Matt, but I got a couple other things to talk about. So at the end of the day, he told me I had cancer. He said, I think you have cancer. We need to investigate this. So for the last year and a half, I've been fighting that, doing chemo and radiations and whatnot. The story was that on one of my radiations, I told my wife, I just don't want to go do this. It's a chemical thing, goes all through your body. And she, come on, honey, let's just go do it together. And, she's just a wonderful woman. She's always supported me. We've had a little bit ups and downs because of my meanness, me not knowing how to be a good husband or know how to be a husband, had to learn. I learned a lot from her, and she's given me great hope all the way through the last 25 years. So she's over working in the show, and she suggested that I had this coming on, and once she just took the day off, which was not a bad idea.
Yeah.
To wear it down a bit easier, and so I can get up the rest of the week, after all this. And I got another one of these kind of things at 2:00, so I'm going to take that time to do it. But all in all, we've got a lot. We could go through a whole lot of the parts of the life, but because of this book now, I've got people that I haven't talked to in 30, 40 years. I don't know, reading it and commenting on it. There's lots of comments on Amazon about it. If anybody were interested in looking at it, and I'm not trying to sell books. I've given more books away than I've ever sold yet. To people that I meet, people who are interested in the story or know somebody. And I was telling them, what? If you get one of these books, if you find somebody that could use it, give it to them. I'll send you another one. That kind of thing. But I've had a little bit of help promoting it, this and that. And what I found out is I had no idea. I had no idea about putting a book out and what it takes to get it out there, really put it out there. So I keep talking about it. I don't promote it much, but if it comes up, I'll talk to somebody about it. This book is not for everybody. It's a autobiography. Christine did a great job with it. We don't talk as much, and we used to talk every few days, and long hours around it. She is very talented, crafted the book to where it could be heard in different sections. And like I said, it took 3 years, some of her part, some of my part, health reasons, whatever.
I just love your story, Patrick. I just think it's amazing. Your story and the fact that your wife picked you because you said your picker was broken and everything you've been through and everything you're still going through. It's amazing. It's an amazing
Well,
story.
I was told because I'd run into a person here and there, and they wanted to know about Patrick or the business or whatever, and it led to one. They said, "Yeah, you should write a book." And I went, "Yeah, no, I'm just that guy. I'm just another guy. I'm not, it's not a big deal." But that's only because I've lived it. But so I thought, well, I'm hoping in 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, one of my relatives might hear about this book. And I think we had a relative, because I don't know much about my past, might find it, read it, and maybe get some good out of it from the family part of it. My mother was an alcoholic, and we had a lot of addiction in the family. I had a sister that passed away of that. And some of the family had a little bit of it, some of it not, but around the family. So this swirled around our generations, and we're hoping to break. My son's been sober now 15 years, but he had a hell of a time getting there. My grandson dabbled. I'm hoping my granddaughter doesn't really take to it, but it's a generational thing as well. And like that. So this life that we've got today is what I got left, and I cherish it. I feel like I'm living in God's grace pretty much. That's the only reason I'm here, because when I got cancer, I sat there and I was told that, and I said, "Well, God, what do you want me to do?" And I heard immediately, "I want you to stay there and show your strength." And so I've tried to do that. It's not every day that I'm a happy, joyous, free kind of guy. Some days it's not good. Some days it gets ugly. And some days I just get up on my chair and walk around my property with my dogs and throw the ball, and then somehow I feel a little bit better. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's all a choice and it's all a gift. I was thinking about that this morning. Patrick, this has been a real blessing to have you on ENTV today. I'm going to be running a veterans event, micro summit, roundtable, networking thing, something. I would love if you want to be on that. I'll book it sometime in August. There's a lot of veterans in this community. There's at least 50 to 100.
You got a lot of veterans in your community. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. And so I'd love to get you guys on camera and just network and just see what happens, and people can tell stories of what they've learned.
I think every veteran that I see that has a hat on, or I find out he's a veteran when they come into my show in the grocery store or wherever. And I will show you one thing that I made that I give them, and I thank them for their service. And it's this little chip, and it's got my dog's face on it. He's a service dog. On the other side, it says, "Thank you for your service." That is a Knights Templar angel. I'm a Knights Templar. It's of the original order of the Knights Templars from way back in the 1100s on up to where we're at. We're not Masonic. It's just about God. But when I hand a guy this chip, and I said, but you get a fist bump with it, and they give me a wink, a nod, a cheer, we talk a minute. It's something I can give back. And I mean, I've had some very valuable experiences around that every day that I'm out. And I've heard a lot of stories. And yes, I would like to be part of your veteran thing. If you'd like to do that and contact me, I'll sure do it.
Yeah. We'll line it up for August sometime. Patrick, thank you for being here. Spelling on your last name, 2 R's?
It's Harrington.
2 R's or 1 R?
2 R. Yeah,
2 R's. Okay, so Patrick Harrington, ENTV. This has been Patrick Harrington. Patrick, thanks for being here. Please reach out to Patrick. Tell him what you appreciate about his interview or comment here. Patrick, we'll keep chatting after the recording is done here, but I really appreciate you, sir, being on today.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.